Chapter 10. La 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 la, sing a happy song. The next morning, the Winslows' kitchen was full of merry Smurfs, making their first human-style breakfast.
Whoa, this is great!
Gutsy cried from atop the orange juicer. Clumsy held a glass to catch the sweet liquid. Patrick, who was trying desperately to not be freaked out by the little blue creatures taking over his kitchen, poured himself a cup of coffee and a bowl of cereal and sat down at the table with his laptop. Grace laughed at her husband's stubborn attitude. Since the night before, he'd been insisting they were both dreaming. While Patrick worked on an idea for Odil's campaign, Smurfette helped Grace wash strawberries in the sink. "How crazy is this, Patrick?" Grace burst out. "Little blue people singing in our kitchen." An endearing grin spread across Grace's face. On the counter, Grouchy was angrily stomping on the toaster pedal, trying to get the bread to pop up. Brainy looked over at the toaster and laughed.
It's so obvious what you're doing wrong.
"Oh, really?" Grouchy asked, stepping aside to let Brainy have a try. "After you."
Clearly, this mechanism works like this.
Brainy climbed onto the handle. With a sinister laugh, Grouchy kicked the lever.
Ah!
Brainy went soaring off the lever and did a faceplant directly into Patrick's cereal bowl. Patrick wiped the table with a napkin. "So you're sticking with your 'this is actually happening' theory?" Patrick asked his wife, shaking his head. Grace just chuckled.
Sorry,
Brainy added, peeking out of the bowl covered in milk and cereal. But as skeptical as Patrick was, it was getting increasingly difficult to continue insisting that these blue guys didn't exist, especially when one was swimming around in his cereal. So he decided to do some computer research. Okay, it says here, Smurfs are mythical creatures from Belgium. Patrick scrolled down. Also known as Les Strumps, documented by Peo. Grace crossed the kitchen to read over Patrick's shoulder. "Aw, it says they bring good luck, like leprechauns to the Irish." "It says they're mythical, Grace."
Woohoo!
One of the mythical creatures called out, flying across the kitchen. Splat! A giant spray of orange juice showered Patrick's laptop screen. "I'm so sorry, Master Winslow," Papa apologized. But Gutsy thought his dismount from the juicer had been quite a feat.
That was great,
he remarked. "They look pretty real to me," Grace mused as Patrick wiped the spots of juice off his screen. "Oh, look." She pointed at the dog who was moaning happily while having his belly scratched by Clumsy. Patrick didn't know what to believe. Okay, to review. You guys come from a magic forest where you live in oversized mushrooms.
Yes,
Papa confirmed. You're being chased by an evil wizard?
Yeah, Papa said.
And you're trapped in New York until there's a blue moon. Papa was pleased.
Very good.
And you like to use the extremely imprecise term Smurf for just about everything.
Smurfsactly,
Brainy affirmed. Patrick raised his eyebrows in suspicion. And you're all named after your personalities? Do you get your names when you're born or after you've exhibited certain traits? Papa climbed onto the table near Patrick's computer, eager to discuss a much more pressing matter.
Master Winslow, Papa began with urgency in his voice. Please, there must be something about the blue moon on your magic window machine.
Whoa! Just what is this magic searching device? Brainy wanted to know. Well, right now I'm using a search engine, Patrick said. Ooh! The Smurfs all cooed at the same time. Patrick's fingers flew over the keys as he typed in a search. Blue moon. A full moon that occurs twice in 1 month. A figurative construct. He couldn't help but add, much like yourselves.
Hey,
Grouchy remarked, slightly offended. Patrick rolled his eyes, then went on reading. But the moon itself doesn't appear to be blue. Hearing that, the Smurfs all stopped what they were doing and turned to stare at Papa. "What?" Brainy asked. "Not blue?" Smurfette wondered.
"Oh, perfect," Grouchy whined. "No, we'll never get home," Gutsy exclaimed.
Papa leaped in front of the computer, both to stop Patrick from reading more and to hide the picture of the full moon in the center of the page.
"No cause for alarm, my little Smurfs," Papa reassured the others. He pinched his lips together thoughtfully. "If we're to open the portal home, I'll just have to smurf us a potion to invoke the blue moon."
Patrick turned to Grace. "You hear that, honey?" he began sarcastically. "They're only staying till the blue moon rises, which could happen if the little blue Santa man can make a magical potion." In a softer tone, he added, "Which at this point seems completely plausible." Patrick reached out to grab the creamer for his coffee, only to find Grouchy sitting on the lid of the creamer cup, eating a strawberry.
"Want a bite?"
Grouchy asked. Patrick shook his head. "No, thank you." Papa continued thinking out loud.
"Of course, the stars will need to be perfectly aligned, and when that might be is hard to determine without the proper instrument."
Papa turned toward Patrick.
"Master Winslow, might I borrow your stargazer?"
"My what, sir?" Patrick didn't understand. Gutsy knew immediately that this was a very bad sign.
"Uh-oh, he doesn't have a stargazer,"
he confirmed with Patrick.
"Do ye?"
Patrick and Grace both shook their heads, still not fully comprehending. "This is all my fault," Clumsy wailed. Brainy put his hands over his head and began sobbing. "We're all going to die. We're all going to die," he cried. Fearful this would lead to one big Smurfy meltdown, Gutsy tried a little tough love with Brainy.
"Smurf out of it, scaredy brains. One panicky Smurf is enough,"
he barked, shaking Brainy by the shoulders. "Besides," Smurfette added calmly, "Papa had a vision and everything turns out Smurfy. Right, Papa?" They all turned to face Papa.
Yes. It all turns out just
fine," Papa assured them. But Papa's vision had been far from Smurfy.